What's up, gamers? This is Yuban with a Mechabellum Replay commentary. Today we are going to showcase one of our favorite builds, the asymmetrical Tarantula aggro push. Looking at the starting packs here, we got 3 Tarantula packs, all 3 with unit drops. We decided to go for the Rhino spec because it is, based on stats, the strongest starting spec. We get a 300 supply unit, that's level 2 on round 4. And we also get to start with Void Eyes, which are fantastic pairing with the Tarantula, especially into our opponent's Sledgehammers. Our issue with Tarantula into the Sledgehammer is that it takes far too long to clear the Sledgehammers, allowing the opponent's backline and even the Sledgehammers to take down the Tarantula. However, with the Void Eyes, that should help our DPS quite a bit, especially against these small, medium-sized units. We decided to place our chaff unit with the Fang in the front to tank for the anti-armor cannon, and then placing one more vertical 4 squares next to our Tarantula to draw any aggro from the right side of the board, just so we don't get an early tower debuff by multiple packs of crawlers. From here, we have 3 to 4 squares behind the line for our Tarantula, because we want to just pressure our opponent's tower as soon as we can. However, still leaving enough spaces in front of the Tarantulas for future chaff units or tanks. Let's say our opponent places some kind of saber tooth in the front. Our opponent went for 2 Void Eyes, putting it asymmetrically, maybe trying to protect the right side tower a bit. And with no more chaff in front of us and our opponent's Void Eyes just shelling away at our Tarantula, I have a feeling that this first round is going to go not as expected, especially with a asymmetrical setup. And yes, we lose the first round due to our opponent's strong defense, and also gives the Void Eye a level right off the bat. That is going to be very scary. Round 2 unit reinforcement. We got Marksman in the back, which is, we could play for assault mode, but we already have 3 packs of Void Eyes, which I could turn them into carry. Mustangs could be good in the back line, but it's a little weak into our opponent's board currently. And my eyes landed on the Sabertooth right off the bat, because these 2 units are such good pairing together. We have 2 tanky boys on the board, and the Sabertooth can one-shot the cannon and one-shot the Sledgehammers. In hindsight, that's probably a mistake, because our opponent already has a level 2 Void Eye tucked away in the back with lots of chaff coming in, which means our Sabertooth are just going to die right away here. From here, we went for 3 packs of chaff, sold out of our wall to make space for our Sabertooth. And we went for 2 vertical crawlers in the back, and then 1 pack of vertical Fang on the side. You notice that on round 1, we did not go for any chaff units on our weak side, because there is no threat of the flank on round 1. And this is something I like to do on round 2. Vertical Fangs behind the building on the side here, in case opponent goes for some kind of Phoenix or Wasp or even Crawler play to get a early tower debuff. If we get early tower debuffed in this matchup here, that means our Tarantulas would have a hard time getting levels, and we absolutely need the Tarantulas at level 2 to be able to clear the Sledgehammers in the front here. This is why we went for this triple chaff deployment. And recognizing that we got 3 tanky boys, we went for the defense enhancement. to try to beef up our front line a little bit more. Hopefully the Void Eyes will not be so powerful against us. Opponent went for the Mustangs in the back, very smart. This guards him against any air in the back, and for future anti-air if he chooses to place any Mustangs on the side. Okay, seems like our late arriving crawlers are drawing good fire for the Void Eyes. However, with our opponent's newly added arc lights in the back, seems like we're losing the chaff war once again. And because we've lost the chaff war, that means our Void Eyes were stuck shooting on crawlers and not doing their job clearing the sledgehammers. This is looking not very good for early game tempo here. Round 3, reinforcement. We don't need laser sight as we are the aggressor. We just want to push in and we got tank. Therefore, we decided to go for the Wasp Swarm. Recognizing opponent has no anti-air and no distraction crawlers on this side. And he's most likely going to concentrate his defense on the left side, as we expect, as we see here. So we went for the Wasp Swarm. And then from here, we're just focusing on building up our chaff line here. We know, even though we've lost 2 rounds in a row, we're not too stressed about our push here. I think once we build to a critical mass of Tarantula and chaff units in the back, we should be able to push through. Just have faith in the asym aggro. From here, we just went for more fangs on the side. 1 more pack of crawler in the back. This is to distract a center wasp swarm. So if the opponent places a swarm here, it'll just follow the crawler to the front and hopefully die to the fangs or even to the phoenix. And because we recognize that we were so behind in tempo, we could not afford to lose to tower debuff. Here we decided to go for another missile in the back and going for triple missile in the back after selling out of our Sabertooth, recognizing it wasn't doing a whole lot. We just did not want to get tower debuffed. And with the remaining 50, we even put down another missile, trying to missile out the sledgehammers. Opponent, very smart, put down a vertical fang in front of the sledgehammers to block our missile. Let's see if our tower debuff timing with the Wasp Swarm can finally grant us a win here. It seems like we're finally pushing through, and with our Tarantula still alive, we should just be able to barely win the round. Look at that. Even with 3 missiles, front missile, Wasp Swarm in the back, we barely won that last round here. Round 4, Super Supply. With both of us being fairly healthy in HP, it was an instant pick for sure. And now I get my power spike turn. Same with our opponent. Opponent decided to go for a Typhoon on the side here, trying to trigger the missile, causing a -50 situation and try to get a tower debuff. I'm hoping the missile here will just be able to slow down the Typhoon for long enough that the battle that's happening here will be over by then. From us, even though we just spent 250 supply to get this card, we still had enough to get the range enhancement. We thought, okay, enough is enough. Our Tarantulas were just getting targeted way too fast, and we're chaff clearing way too slowly. We need to keep these guys in the back so they can, 1, potentially kill the sledgehammers and grab some levels. Look at this guy, almost level 2. And 2, just to stay out of the harm's way from the Void Eyes by outranging them. Here I put down 1 more forward missile, thinking that our opponent, because we sold out of the cannon, and thinking that once again we don't want to get early tower debuffed, and we put down 1 more missile. These are very costly, and I would say in hindsight it has slowed down our tempo quite a bit. instead of the missiles and all the chaff, maybe we could have been grabbing a Phoenix in the corner here already. And you can see here, it takes forever to kill these sledgehammers without the Void Eye's help. And with this many packs of crawlers streaming in, we're still stuck shooting on chaff. Our opponent's backline flank slowed down quite a bit, but eventually it's going to get through. And just at the last minute of the battle, we get tower debuffed, and that should spell the end of our push. Once again, we failed to push into our opponent's tower and caught in taking a lot of damage. Because we both took the super supply card, we have tons of money, and the additional deployment card just seemed perfect in this situation, as we want to throw down extra deployment to deal with the flank shenanigans. Opponent went for a steel ball to deal with our level 2 rhino. We kind of expect some type of counter to this rhino in the corner, so we're going to put down a crawler in the front. The idea here is if he ignores this rhino this round, this guy will get in and kill the Mustang, and we could potentially go for the armor enhancement. But for now, let's test the water with one pack of crawler. We don't want to invest into a tech yet, and let's see how it goes. And here you see me making another major mistake. We elite recruited 200 cost units, so 600 supply here to deal with opponent's 300 supply investment of the Typhoon. Went for the level 2 Phoenix and Tarantula. So there goes our 3 deployments. And the reason why I think this is a major mistake is that last round we already had issue pushing into our opponent's tower. And without adding any reinforcement to the push, and by putting all of our supply to defend the flank, that guarantees us a loss in the frontline push here, because opponent likely reinforce his army, making it even stronger. And this is what you're going to see with our deep flank getting taken care of very quickly, and our Tarantula just stuck shooting on sledgehammers. You can see this shallow flank corner is definitely a weak spot of our push. And look, the crawlers are even pushing all the way back to almost the point of touching and contacting our Tarantula, which is not good at all. With our opponent's remaining arc lights and anti-air unit in the back, it seems, oh, this is a nice missile, I guess, saving us like 200 HP damage. So it seems like even though we lost the push once again, we reduced the amount of damage we took. Unit reinforcement here. I knew that, so none of these units are really that helpful in a aggro situation. However, we knew that we wanted to sell out of the rhino, so we were not going to take a giant to just hold it and float the 400 supply unit. Instead, we wanted to just create more bodies of distraction for the arc lights, and maybe even a little more chaff clear, seeing that we are struggling to clear all the late arriving crawlers that's coming in. And we decided to grab the level 2 hounds. From here, we place it kind of part of our push along with the flank, recognizing the shallow flank is our weak point here. We keep getting pushed through and causing a swing around from the corner into our main army. Here we finally decided enough is enough. We keep losing the chaff war. Let's grab our HE ammo to speed up the chaff clear and even deal with these clumped up sledgehammers a little bit faster. Opponent went for the melting point, which is a very good counter against what we have here. I would say any kind of giant unit against the Tarantula push is strong, because Tarantulas, once we click HE, they would just get stuck shooting on these giant units. Recognizing that's our weak point, we elite recruited 2 more packs of Phoenix. Now that our super supply enhancement is kicking in and giving us a lot more supply every round, we're just going to elite recruit almost every round. And hopefully with 3 packs of level 2 Phoenix, we can finally push through our opponent's sledgehammer defense. Let's see how it goes. Seems like we are pushing through faster and clearing chaff much more efficiently. However, you can see right here, without a Tarantula right in this corner, our Phoenixes were just stuck shooting on chaff the entire time. It seems like this is a much better push than the previous round. We're clearing all the chaff and leaving our opponent with only a small number of units left. And with some luck, we could potentially even win the round by clearing the Mustangs. Can we do it before the tower debuff? Nope. That's okay. Taking 400 HP damage is not the worst. Opponent instantly clicked the laser sight for his melting point, and we decided to go for the laser sight as well because we didn't need any more armor with our opponent having the melting point and the steel balls. We wanted to just reinforce our Phoenix in the back. Our Wasp Swarm came back online. Instead of putting it in the back and just to have them get cleared within seconds, we decided to put it up front in front of the melting point, recognizing that opponent has no Mustangs in the middle, and this pack of Mustang is always going to swing around to the outside. So if we put the Wasp in the front here, they're going to tie up the melting point quite a bit. Opponent went for the range and multi-melter tech right away. And with the laser sight, this melter still has 160 range, which is quite scary. On our side, we decided to go for the third tech, the spider mine. This is our go-to tech whenever we see opponent grabbing the melting point. With or without the energy diffraction, this tech always causes a lot of havoc. You're going to see the first round of the spider mines are going to die right away, just like chaff. However, it's the second and the third wave of the spider mine that's going to be very devastating to our opponent. Here, we recognized that opponent had a lot of chaff coming in diagonally from the second tower. And we decided to go for the Tarantula right here next to the fangs, not too far to the right that it would get aggro to the wall, but close enough that it can stay back and help us deal with this quadrant of chaff units. What I think we should have done was to reinforce this corner here, recognizing this is such a weak spot of our push. Opponent went for the Melter defense, recognizing this level 3 Tarantula was actually quite powerful from the last round, almost grabbing us a win. Okay, with our opponent's Mustangs coming in and with our push finally getting through, I think this is our first time pushing into our opponent's tower all game. Seems like we're going to grab a tower debuff, and this level 3 Tarantula with the spider mine, you can see that lots of distraction, lots of damage. And we finally strike back on round 7 after losing probably 3 to 4 rounds in a row. Round 8 reinforcement. Nothing too crazy here, no big spell. However, the Rhino Assault can still be a pretty good spell to Goomba Stone some of our opponent's high-level Mustangs, which are dealing a lot of damage. 50,000 damage last round. And you can see with the Wasp Swarm from last round, opponent's melting point barely did any damage last round. This is a strong melting point with the item, only did 4,000 damage. For our potential knockout punch, we recognize that if the melting point no longer have energy diffraction, and we also anticipated opponent going for the energy absorption. Once this combo gets online, it can be impossible to beat without EMP. So we decided to double tech our Phoenix, giving them range and the EM shot. The idea is that as soon as we can clear out the chaff and lock onto the melting point, once we can disable their tech, forcing them to single target our late arriving chaff and single target the spider mines once again. Opponent decided to double down and go for 2 more melting point, full tech, and just take a look at how many packs of chaff our opponent has. We have quite a few coming from the back line, however, definitely not nearly as many as him. Goomba Stomp here is not going to kill our Rhino. You can see first round of Spider Mine killed some sledgehammers, but didn't do too much except to distract our opponent's units. And with this overwhelming stream of chaff and our second wave of Spider Mine coming in, we're going to defeat our opponent's melting point all at once. And with that, and with this many Tarantulas and Phoenixes in the air, is that going to be game? Just barely game, killing him by 38 HP. Very lucky. I think if this game goes on any longer, and if he clicked the EM barrage, we might be in a lot of trouble. So I'm glad we were able to come back from multiple rounds of defeat into winning the round 7 and round 8 with our Tarantula Spider Mine push. I hope you enjoyed the game as much as I did. Make sure you check out our other replay commentary videos up above. Thanks for watching. Until next time.